She's a roller coaster. Oh, she's so fake. I'm burning up inside, but I can feel no pain. I won't try to stop her. She can't be tamed. I'm so in love with her. I fall and try again. Get up and try again.
Good afternoon. My name is Connor and you are listening to the Collective Fitness Show and podcast. Now, I haven't got too long today, so I'm going to dive straight into this one. But first, I do want to get my plugins out of the way with. If you are on Facebook at all, go into your search engine, go and type in the Collective Fitness community page. Now, that's where you will find us and my team, where we are answering questions to our members, our clients, and anyone else who wants to be on there. We wanted to create it so it acted a bit as a community and a two-way street. Social media can be very much a shouting information at you, so we wanted to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions and for us to answer them. Loads of interactions on there, so by all means, type it into your search engine and come and find us and join in on the fun. Now, today's episode. Where do I start? So, if you're listening to this, you've probably heard me talk a little bit about what my why is and why I exercise and why I'm so passionate about delivering exercise in a certain format. People nowadays suffer both physically and mentally. What I mean by that is there's low states of mental health and there's low states of physical health all around us. And exercise is the perfect platform. It's one of many platforms, but it's a perfect platform to help people improve both of those areas of their lives. I always talk about exercise in my story. When I was a little bit younger, I wasn't as confident as I am now. I definitely wouldn't have been starting a podcast when I was younger. When I discovered exercise, it allowed me to get a little bit confident, a lot more confident to the point I am today, where it's allowed me to kind of progress and attack different areas of my life that I never thought I would be able to do so. Now, today's podcast is the story of our logo, really. So if you're listening to this on a podcast, stop for a minute, look at your phone. You'll see our little logo in the middle of the orange tile. The logo is the infinity ring with kind of 4 little progressive blocks in the middle of it. And I want to kind of give a bit more context to why that is our logo. I started to listen to a book recently that elaborates upon a concept that originally derived the thought process behind our logo, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about it and kind of reveal the thought process behind it. So a couple of months ago, probably in about April, June, we were going through the branding process for the business, and I was asked, what logo do I want? And what someone said to me is, you need to be able to explain the logo. If anyone ever asks you why this logo, you need to have an understanding and a story behind it. So don't just think of a random shape or a random word or a letter. You need to have logic behind the logo. So I had a good think about it. And at the time I was listening to a book called Start With Why by a gentleman called Simon Sinek. If you've ever been on YouTube, you've probably come across him. He's everywhere. He's in all what he does in essence is he talks a lot about marketing and business, but a lot of it is the psychology behind being successful in business. His main message is, as you can guess with the book, Start With Why. It's about understanding your purpose that you're in business, which is why I talk about it so much. It's understanding why you're doing things, and making money generally is not the correct answer to that. You need to have a passion and a purpose behind what you do. Now, in one of the chapters, he spoke about a core concept. The concept was the infinite game. And what he goes on to explain is that he used the examples of business and politics. What he goes on to explain is that there are 2 types of games that we play in the real world. There's an infinite game, there's a finite game. A finite game is a game that has a start, middle and an end, a fixed and aware amount of players. So what I mean by that, you know who you're competing against. And there's an obvious finish date and there's an obvious who's a winner and who's a loser. A good example of that would be football. You got 2 teams, you know how you're going to score, you know how you're going to win, you know when the start, middle and the end is. An infinite game is, in essence, the game of survival. Your only goal is to further push forward your cause and your why, whatever that is, whatever the reason you are in that game for, and to stay alive for as long as possible, or to continue to succeed for as long as possible. So in the example of business, a business's goal is not to win. There's no real way of winning in business. In business, you have to stay alive and stay afloat for as long a period of time and continue to progress your cause. Politics is the same. Governments are there to allow countries to run successfully and efficiently for extended or forever periods of time. You don't just do it. There is no, all right, we've won politics, we've finished now, we can stop. It's a really important concept to understand. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because when I was listening to this, I couldn't help but think how relevant this is in the world of fitness. Now, as I said at the start, I spoke a little bit about my why and why I'm in this and why I'm so passionate about exercise as a tool to help people improve their quality of life and their livelihoods. And it all comes down back to that purpose that exercise and fitness is a platform. It's something that we should all have in our lives for the long run. And it's a platform and an opportunity for us to continually improve. Hence the derivative of the logo, the infinity. It's a continuous loop of improvement and progression. That's why the little progressive blocks are in the middle of the logo. A continuous loop of progression and improvement. That's what fitness should be to us. We have our lives, we have the day-to-day things that we go about, and we have what we are working towards. We need an opportunity in our lives to give back to ourselves, and fitness and exercise is always a platform that can help develop the traits necessary and required to improve our overall livelihood and what we do with our day-to-day lives. As I mentioned at the start, it was a great opportunity for me to improve my overall confidence and kind of build into the business that I'm building in today. Without exercise, I probably wouldn't be in this platform in this position that I am now. I know many people who have suffered with mental health issues, with other physical health issues, and without exercise, they wouldn't be on the road that they are on today in a vastly improved position. Now, the problem lies when people use exercise and fitness as a means to an end. What I mean by that is people create outcomes in their head. So an example of an outcome would be to have a six-pack. People create that outcome in their head, and they use exercise as a tool, as a means to an end to accomplish that outcome. Now, at the end of the day, that's not a bad thing, but you're not taking advantage of exercise for what it is, and that's a platform to continually improve our overall livelihoods. When we place a finite goal on something, when we come to that finite goal, what's next? That's the question. And I can't help but think that fitness and the way it's marketed to people as these short-term goals and these short-term accomplishments is just not being used for its overall purpose. And that's an extended long-term strategy of using fitness as a way to improve our overall quality of life. Now, when I talk about this as well, I don't expect everybody to go and join a gym or get mad into fitness or go and run a marathon or start bodybuilding or anything like that. I just mean give a little bit of your day to activity and being an active individual. When you go back to when we were children, you look at how we used to do activity then. It was football, it was sport, it was socialising. You can kind of see the external benefits that it brought for us. There's no reason that exercise can't be like that for us today. But it doesn't always have to be that. It could be a 60-minute walk per day. It could be whatever. We were looking at the physical benefits the other day of exercise in newly trained individuals, the people who were just doing exercise, basic exercise, and they're new to it. The biggest improvements in cardiovascular health markers are seen in that first spectrum, from you doing no exercise to just a little bit of exercise. So even those small bits of exercise and giving back to yourself are a massive improvement on doing absolutely nothing. Now, to kind of summarize, I just want people to understand that exercise is this thing. It's this thing that should be implemented in our life for the long run. It should not be a finite thing, and it should not be a means to an end. That's the most important thing that I want people to understand. It should not be a means to an end. The effects of exercise are that powerful that it should be implemented consistently throughout our life. Naturally, we're going to have peaks and troughs where we're working towards specific things and we want to up the intensity and guide ourselves to that specific nature, but there are also going to be points in our lives where we rein it off and it's just something there, just something that's part of our day that allows us to give back to ourselves. Now, next time you see the logo, have a good think about what I spoke about and try and understand what it represents. And it represents fitness and what it should be, and that's in turn what our livelihood should be. That continuous evolving loop that is constantly progressing and moving forward. We, as humans, we're designed for growth. We're not designed to stagnate. We're not designed to go backwards. We're designed to constantly improve and constantly working towards a purpose and a higher sense of fulfillment. And ultimately, that's one of the main reasons that how we seek happiness. We get that higher sense of purpose and something to work towards. So listening to a podcast with Tyson Fury, the boxer recently, and he suffered quite a lot with mental health. And one of the things that he said is that when he had that pause in his boxing career and he went down a really dark road, the main thing that he said is that because he stopped boxing, he just had no purpose. He wasn't working towards anything, and he didn't have any point in his life where he was giving back to himself. He was just taken away. And that's what set him off on that road. And the way he recovered from that road is reintroducing himself back to boxing. It gave him back that sense of purpose and that sense of growth that we can be working towards something that's going to give us fulfillment. Now, so take a step back and look at your current fitness situation. Are you doing it in a way that's going to implement it for the long run? Now, that's hard to think about, but are you doing it in a way that's going to spill over into your real life? You're not just using it as a means to an end to look good on Instagram, get some likes, or get a six pack or whatever. If you've introduced exercise into your life for a specific reason, for example, you've started running so you can go and run a marathon in 6 months' time, are you going to keep, have you seen the benefits from introducing exercise that you're going to keep it for the long run? Like, I'd imagine that answer to that question is going to be yes, and I hope it would be. So just take a minute. Are you working towards a finite goal? If you are you going to continue to progress it for the long run? Once you get there, once you get to that goal, can you sustain it? If your goal is to look incredibly good in the mirror, 9 times out of 10 from what I've seen working with clients is that when people get to a certain level of looking good in the mirror, the reality is they can't sustain that for the long run. You need to find a balance point where exercise can be implemented, but you can still enjoy the normal benefits of day-to-day life, like eating food, going out, socializing, etc., etc. Now, that's pretty much it from me. Like I said at the start, it was just a little bit of a brief one. It's just something that I wanted to get off my chest and talk about the logo and the purpose and the why behind the business. Fitness should be an ever-evolving journey, and I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. As I also mentioned at the start, come and find us on the Facebook group community if you want to hear more from us. Have an amazing day.